In the summer of 1518, something unusual unfolded in a quiet European town. People began moving rhythmically in the streets. There was no music, no celebration, and no clear reason. Just continuous motion, as if the town had suddenly fallen into a strange and silent rhythm. This event took place in Strasbourg, a small community along the Rhine River. The weather was warm, the markets busy, and daily life moved at its usual pace until one morning everything shifted. A woman named Frau Trofea stepped outside her home and began to dance. She did not speak. She did not look around. She simply continued a steady pattern of movement, almost as if she were following a sound no one else could hear. At first, the townspeople watched with curiosity, unsure if they were witnessing a performance or something far more unsettling. Some believed she was expressing personal emotion, a sudden outburst brought on by stress, grief, or the weight of the summer heat. Others assumed she was simply overwhelmed, pushed past her limits by exhaustion or pressure, and unable to regain control of her own body. But as the hours passed, her movements continued with no sign of stopping, as if her body had disconnected from her will entirely. When the next morning arrived, the same figure was still there, still moving, still swaying, still trapped in a rhythm she could not escape. Within days, more people began to show the same behavior, as if the strange force gripping her had quietly spread across the town. Dozens of residents joined the strange rhythm, filling the streets with movements that looked coordinated yet completely uncontrolled. The town grew increasingly concerned as the number of affected people rose, turning a small disturbance into a full public crisis. Local physicians were called to observe the situation, attempting to find a physical explanation for behavior that defied logic. They suggested it might be caused by a physical imbalance or an environmental pressure, something within the body or the air around them. Religious leaders offered a different perspective, insisting the event was a sign of emotional strain or a disturbance that touched something deeper in the spirit. No single explanation satisfied the community, and disagreements between physicians and clergy only deepened the confusion. In an attempt to guide the situation, the town organized an open area where the dancers could be gathered and monitored. They cleared space, allowed musicians to play steady rhythms, and encouraged participants to move in a controlled environment, hoping the structure would reduce the chaos. For a time, the town became a place of continuous motion, a rhythm that no one fully understood, yet everyone could witness. As the season came to an end, the behavior slowly faded, leaving the streets to return to a fragile sense of normalcy. People returned to their routines, and the once restless squares grew quiet again. Historical records do not fully explain what happened, leaving researchers with more questions than answers. Some modern scholars suggest a natural contaminant in local food supplies, something that may have affected perception and behavior. Others point to the extreme emotional and economic pressures of the era, which may have pushed the community into collective psychological distress. Another theory links it to a collective stress response, where groups under intense strain react in unusual and synchronized ways. Whatever the cause, the event was rarely discussed afterward, as if the town quietly agreed to bury the memory along with its unanswered questions. The people of Strasbourg left behind only brief notes and fragmented stories, none of them offering a full account of what truly happened. The details remain incomplete, as if the event slipped out of written history before anyone could capture it clearly. Maybe it was not just one cause, but a combination of pressures that built up silently within the town. Maybe it was a moment shaped by forces we can no longer measure. Stress, hunger, fear, and beliefs colliding at the wrong time. Sometimes the human mind reacts to the world in ways that remain mysterious, quiet, and unexplained.